talks. Welcome to part 2. In the previous part, we basically set up from scratch Spring Boot application using Maven instead of relying on the STS guide and then importing stuff. The reason being that at work you may not be able to do that, and if you're following using Maven, etc., to get experience on how to go about doing that. In this particular session, we are going to essentially create a REST controller, and then we'll create basic bean like a Pojo, and then we are going to use that to send back information which will come back as JSON, and also we're going to post to our REST controller, which we're going to map to a particular object, and then we're going to inspect that. Okay, so two things, basically get some experience using the REST controller and use basically create a bean. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create the controller first, or let me create the bean first. Okay, so new class, and I'm going to call it model. I'm going to call this guy customer account. Now I have the code already written out, so I'm going to just basically copy paste, and then I'll explain to you what we're doing here. Let me save this guy. So basically this is a simple bean. There's nothing fancy. Let me get rid of these guys. Okay, so we have basically declared a couple of variables. Then we'll essentially create getters and setters. If you're new to Eclipse or STS, go to source, generate getters and setters, say okay, and let's leave it here like this for now. I'm going to also go ahead and create a new, basically we're going to create the controller class, and I'm going to put it under service, and I'm going to call it customer maintenance controller. Okay, and I also have the code for this. Where's my supply? So let's first run this guy. Okay. Okay, so we're getting some errors. If you look at the error, it is basically saying that some auto wiring issues happening. Okay, so let's actually quickly look at some of the code, and then we'll fix it, and then we'll run it. So looking at the controller, right? Basically, it is a standard class. You created the class, you would have got this guy and the braces here. We are annotating it with @REST controller, so that right away makes it a REST controller. Okay. Request mapping is the URL where we are going to, if people put this URL, then it's going to hit this controller. So you could have multiple controllers with different request mappings, right? And based on what is the URL being entered, it will be directed to that particular controller. Now inside the controller, I have this thing called auto wired. Okay, this for now at least, it is similar to saying customer account equal to new customer account in parentheses, right? Excepting there are things you do where we basically need the auto wiring. So Spring Boot, one of the things is dependency injection and things like that, right? So in this particular case, it does not perhaps matter, but as we get into some advanced topics in the future, you will see why that auto wiring is needed. So if you have objects, the preferred method is to auto wire them as opposed to declaring private variables and then instantiating them. Also the issue with if you would create too much of private variables, you're not going to be stateless. Okay, so if you have and again it should not matter really in terms of different sessions overriding each other's data. It will be managed well by Spring, but essentially if you are making something that is like a microservice and it's going to be stateless, you really don't want to declare private variables and such. So auto wiring is better, and there are other needs for it. Okay, so we'll come to that as we get into some advanced topics. Now looking at request mapping annotation, it's the path. So basically if you have customer account maintenance slash get account basic, then you will enter here. Now we are saying that the path is this, the method is going to be get. So if you post a get request with this URL, you're going to enter here. The next thing here is what we have done is we have wrapped it around with a response entity object. Now, what the response entity does is it basically allows us to return status codes and such. Okay, so if you don't have the response entity, you will, when you return from here, you will get a 200, or if you have an error, you will probably get an error code. We could set the error status there, but it is a much more elegant way to return status codes, etc. So a good idea to wrap with response entity. So we have the response entity, the you know the data type which is going to return. This is the method name. It's basically like a public type method name, right? It throws exception. It looks pretty routine, like standard in any standard Java thing. In here basically what I'm doing is taking that customer account, setting a bunch of variables, and we're going to return the thing with the status of OK, and we're going to return that guy, and then automatically Spring Boot is going to convert it into a JSON for us. The next thing here I have is one more of these where the path is now create account as opposed to this get account basics. So slash customer account maintenance, customer maintenance slash create account, and if we send it a post method, it's going to enter here whatever is coming in the post, that guy is going to be automatically mapped to our customer account object. We're going to instantiate a new customer account object. It's going to directly get mapped. All the variables will get filled in. And to demonstrate that that is indeed happening, I'm going to print out a line here, as well as we're going to return this thing back. So whatever you send, you're going to get back. Okay. Again, because we have at the start of it, we don't have a lot of objects. We're going to recycle the same thing. So if we now try to start, we got an error before, and one of the things is while this is going to happen and auto wiring etc. is happening, Spring needs to know how to find things. So what I removed there earlier was the annotation called add component. And by doing this, Spring can find this guy. So I'll go ahead and run the application. It starts up. Now if I go to this guy and I hit a refresh, so basically it is sending me back this thing, right? So let me go back here. So as you can see, it was, it started up and then it ran, right? And what basically it does is it basically when we hit it here, it comes in here, we are setting all these values here and it is returning that object. So that's what's going on. Good. So now what I've also done is I've downloaded Postman. There's a browser version as well as an app version. I've got the app version, and the advantage of Postman is, or if you use things like SOAP UI etc., you can send post messages to the to your controller. So you really need one of these things to do development. So I'm going to go ahead and I guess I have some history here. Customer maintenance. It's a spelling mistakes here. Okay. So customer maintenance get account basic, I think is what I call it. So if I send it, I get back my response. Okay. Now this is a useful tool. I like Postman. It's free. You can download and use it. And if you have something else, you can use that too. Okay, so good. And as you can see, it's well formatted, etc., as opposed to seeing in the browser. Now that this is done, we're going to use the other one. So I'm going to copy this guy. So I want to send the post message, and if you see here, it is to create account. Okay, let's see what happens if I don't do anything. Okay, if I just make it post and I send it, it's saying method not allowed. Okay, basically there is nothing here to kind of work with post, right? There is no entry point. So as a result, you're getting this message. Now instead of doing this, if I change it to create account, and the body, let me should get, let me capture this guy, post, where is the post gone? Okay, so I'm going to send JSON, and I'm going to send this, and it's going to post to get account, not get account basic, but it's going to post to, okay, so it comes back. Okay, so let's just change it to something else. So as you can see, what is going on is, see this, we are posting, writing this 123 out, right? Custom ID. So instead of that, if I get, okay, so basically what is going on is we are hitting this particular, we are entering from here. The request body takes the JSON and it maps to your internal, your basically bean, and then from there you can use it as you see fit. Okay, so this is sort of in a gist how a REST controller has to be programmed. Again, this request mapping has few other values and such, but this works fine, and commercially you can use this. There's nothing really wrong with the way this is programmed. You could use it for work. There are different things you can do here, but because it's REST controller, JSON is the default, so you don't really need to say the consumes and produces and all that stuff unless you really need it. And okay, so that is sort of what a basic controller is. And next, I think we'll try to look at is persisting some of these things into the database. I will get a MySQL or something going, and then we'll work with that. Hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please feel free to hit a like. That way I know you are finding the material interesting, and I'm going to basically paste the code into the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next session.